Hi, and welcome to the Boostly podcast. This is the podcast that gives hosts all over the world the tools, the tactics, the trainings, and most importantly, the confidence to go out there and get more direct bookings. My name is Liam Carlan. I'm Mark Simpson's co-host, and this is the mini series on the Boostly podcast, which goes behind a successful business which you need to know about as a short-term let host and hospitality owner. So today we are joined by a very special guest. We've actually got Hannah Audin, if I pronounced that correctly.
It's Audin, but it's fine.
Audin. I should check before we go live.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the way from Superhog. She is based in the UK, and Superhog is this amazing company, which we're going to find out about today, which Boostly, as you know, is all about direct bookings, and part of people's worry when it comes down to direct bookings is how do we know who our guest is and if we can trust them ultimately? Are they going to be a good guest? So today's episode is all about how Superhog as a service can help you know your guest. Let's get started. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, obviously your role within the company, and really what Superhog does. I know I've given you a bit of a lead up there, but
You've told them everything that they need to know. Yeah, so I'm in part of the sales team at Superhog, and I guess my job is to entice property managers to buy our service in a nutshell. But obviously I do things like that I'm doing today, so I'm quite well rooted in the industry and like to do webinars, and I'm at the conferences and stuff like that. So yeah, and yeah, I've been at Superhog since it started. So Superhog's been around for like 4 years. So yeah, I've been I like to call myself one of the OGs, which is some sort of Gen Z language or something, isn't it? An OG.
One of the
An
OGs
old person is what I would say. So yeah, I've been there for the full duration of seeing Superhog go from, like, you know, the idea to what it is now. So yeah, it's been very enjoyable so far.
What is your history? What did you do, I guess, before you got into guest verification and the hospitality industry?
Yeah, so I have worked in insurance. So in the insurance industry, everyone goes, oh, boring. Since I was 17. I won't tell you how old I am now, but it was a long time ago. And yeah, I went to college for a bit, but I was like, I always wanted to work. I always just wanted to make money. So I joined an insurance company, and I worked my way up to being a manager there. And then I just decided that I wanted to take the leap out of there and do something different. And the opportunity with, it's Guardhog Technologies is the company in the UK, and then we've got Superhog as well. So it was kind of like a leap because it was local to me, down the road. So we've got an office round by where I live, but it was a startup company, as many are in this industry. It was a bit daunting. I was a bit like, shan't I join? But I'm really glad that I did. And to me, what we do isn't insurance. It's, you know, solutions for the industry, and it's a completely different industry compared to insurance. Like I say, it's not boring. So that's what I've done basically before this, is just remained in insurance, and that is it.
Let's dive into Superhog. So what problem does it solve, and why?
Lots, I would say. So Superhog prevents bad guests essentially from staying in your properties in all shapes or forms. And I have this conversation with property managers like every time that I'm on a call, that, you know, your perception of a bad guest could be anything. It could be a criminal, it could be someone that trashes the place, it could be someone that stays but does a chargeback. There's like so many different reasons why you would say that someone's a bad guest. In fact, we actually had this like chucked around the office the other day, like, what's everyone's interpretation? Everyone was like worried they were going to say like give a bad answer, but I don't think there is like one answer for a bad guest. It could be multiple different things. So we do that by validating who the guest is in order to prevent damage happening or financial loss happening down that end. So that's kind of like our bread and butter. It's always about prevention. We then also provide a deposit management solution, which includes a way that we can monetize damage protection for property managers. So we can actually make you money and provide that pot for damage in case you need it, which obviously is something that a lot of property managers come to us for, is deposit management. They don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to have to pay the fees to the bank and all that kind of thing. So we take that off of the property manager as well and provide that. And then the most important thing, which I actually think is the most important thing, but I don't think everyone thinks it is the big stuff. So what happens when something really does go wrong in your property, like, I don't know, a fire, and the guest causes a fire, like, what have you got in place for that? So we have protection in place for the big stuff, I like to call it.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's it in summary.
Let's go with, how does it work? So if I'm a host,
yeah,
what is the process for, how do I stop that guest from causing problems?
So what we implement is a way of verifying the guest through, and we do that through communication. So we have to get the guest to do something once they've booked. So essentially what would happen is the guest would book, we would then follow up in some shape or form with a verification link. The guest would know that this is coming to them before, so you would communicate to them properly beforehand, because obviously you get pushback otherwise. So we communicate with the guest to get them to verify. We can do that through a manual integration link, their PMS, or we have a direct API that some people will build to. And then what happens is the guest would then be going through that verification. They would provide their email, telephone number, address, their ID. And then once they're verified, or we look at the verification, obviously. If they're verified, we give them the green light. If they're not verified, we give you the red light. I don't know why, I thought about the brown light there, and I don't know what was thinking me. The red light.
It could be a brown light, depends, like how much of a situation it is.
I don't know what my brain was thinking then, but yeah. So essentially, we're giving the green light or the red light if the guest is verified or not. And that's us saying, great, we think they're okay. We think you should be confident hosting that guest. In that process, we can also, as I said earlier, do deposit management. So we can add in a step for the guest to complete, which would include either a deposit, paying a deposit, or a damage waiver fee. And the guest would come to the end of their journey, and then we would tell the host that the guest is verified or not on that basis.
How does this work for guests? Is this something which puts off guests from booking in general? How would you answer that?
So I mean, it's difficult actually to answer in regards to like whether guests get put off, because we don't see that kind of side of it as providing the service. The property managers see that, but we've never had any feedback from property managers to say my guests, my occupancy is down considerably because I've implemented Superhog. If anything, it's obviously staying the same or getting better for them. But in terms of the guest process, it's very simple, and I always say the same thing. It's always about communicating with them first. As long as the guest knows what they're meant to do before they've even booked. So we provide all of this. We provide all the wording and stuff. We wouldn't just allow you to just go off and just make it all up and stick it in your listing and hope for the best. We, have wording that we specifically say, put this in your listings on the OTAs or on your website to tell guests exactly what's expected of them if they book with you. Because the thing is, that is going to put off the bad ones. The good ones are going to keep doing it. They're not going to worry about having to verify, because they are genuine people. They're booking your property for a holiday, to spend with their family or whatever. They don't mind providing that information. So as long as you're communicating first, great. And then the process of actually doing it takes a couple of minutes. The only thing I think that we do get the occasional pushback on is maybe the ID feature. the giving of email addresses and things is just quite a normal thing for people to do online, like when they register on a website and bits like that. But the ID feels like, oh, I'm giving my ID over to someone on the internet. I mean, everything's secure. We have a proper, data protection policy in place and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you so much for answering all of our questions today, Hannah. That has been fantastic to have you on. It's always a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you.
Was there any questions I missed or any final shares before we bring it to a close?
No, I think you covered everything. It was really enjoyable to speak with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. And thank you too, if you're listening on the Boostly podcast or watching on YouTube. We know there's a lot of places you can put your attention, and we thank you for spending it with Boostly. We hope this has been useful for your book and direct journey, and I hope you can now go out there and have some more confidence to get those direct bookings. Thanks for listening.
Having a blast, gonna get it on the Boostly podcast. Boostly like Bruce Lee, cause it's so hard and the T is loose leaf. Making up those rhymes, don't write it, just do it loosely.